guys, welcome back to the channel. It is Georgia here with my dog Crew. For those of you who are new here, welcome. I'm so glad you are here. Today we're going to do a Q&A session. I posted a question box on my Instagram. I'm just going to run through some of the questions you guys asked. Oh, thank you. So yeah, but make sure to subscribe so you don't miss, any future videos, and also comment below if you do have a question that I didn't get to or that you want to know, because I'm definitely going to be doing a lot of these in the future and on this channel. So I have all the questions on my phone here, so we're just going to run through them and let's do it. Okay, so number one is, how did you get started in photography and what were your first steps? So yeah, a little backstory on me and Micah getting started into this. And for anyone who doesn't know, Micah is my husband. He runs the business with me, but I started doing photography in college. I did a lot of senior sessions and graduation sessions. So that's where I kind of got started. I was shooting on a Canon Rebel T6, and yeah, it was really fun. I loved it. And then I was actually at a baseball game. We were all drunk at a baseball game, in the middle of the day, and one of the girls' boyfriends played for the team, and she was like, "I'm a wedding photographer." So we got started talking about photography, and then she said that I have my first wedding. Would you want to come shoot it with me? And I was like, "Yeah, I would love to." So I ended up second shooting with her for I think 2 years, and she really kind of taught me. I really started to learn how wedding days work, just timelines of wedding. So yeah, I shot with her for 2 years. I definitely was I'm not going to be a photographer or a wedding photographer. This is too much work. This is too much equipment. I would just use her stuff. And then 2020 came around. I had met Micah in 2019, and he started going to sessions with me, grad sessions. And, we got asked in 2020 to shoot a friend's backyard wedding, because a lot of photographers and people just didn't feel comfortable being out. And so the photographer they couldn't make it. And so I was sure, I've never done one on my own. And we did it for $500. And I shot photo, and I was like, Mikey, you should try to shoot a video. So he had actually bought me a Canon 5D Mark IV. And he shot a wedding video on my Canon Rebel T6. So just letting you know, anything's possible with any equipment that you have. You just have to get started. But yeah, so we posted it, and our business just kind of started exploding, because we realized we really loved this job and really loved what we were doing. So I guess first steps of actually getting to where we are now, you have to just go out and practice and shoot and get content to put out there. If people don't know what you can do, then it's hard for people to find you if you don't have anything to show for it. So I would definitely just recommend getting out there, shooting, learning your camera, getting really comfortable with manual settings, and then try to get in, if depending on what industry you want to get in, if you want to do weddings, if you want to do families, see if someone can mentor you, or if you can get, go along to shoot with someone, or just get into whatever path you're trying to find. And then the more you do it and the more you post, it's just crazy where you'll be if you just keep consistent with it. But I think the biggest thing is you just have to start and try to get help and try to see if someone can let you come with them, do a mentorship program. But yeah, that is how we got started, and here we are today. Second question is, someone asked, is it okay to use a pose list mid-shoot when you run out of poses, or is it unprofessional? So I think there's a fine line between professional and unprofessional. And I think in my opinion, you can run your business however you want to. There's no one standing over you saying you have to run your business a certain way, because you work for yourself. It's your business. That's the coolest part about entrepreneurship, is you get to run it how you want to. I think it just depends on how you're going about it. For me personally, over the years, I have gotten better at posing, and for the most part, I kind of can just come up with things because I've done it so much. It's a skill. The more you do it, the more you'll just kind of know what you're looking for. But I also think there are specific times when maybe a client has a specific, pose idea, or has specific visions that she has or he has shared with you. I think that's totally okay to, pull up, sometimes I'll even pull up my mood boards that I make. I actually have a YouTube video, I think 2 videos back, maybe. I have a whole process on how I make my mood boards, for sessions, but sometimes I'll pull it up and we'll refer to a photo, especially if we're trying to get a certain pose. Because sometimes it's nice to just look at like hand placement, leg placement, like maybe even thinking through like, oh, how did they get that? Like, could we maybe come up with a prompt to help you get that? So I definitely don't think that's unprofessional. I think it brings in a collaborative process with your clients and makes it feel collaborative. It helps make them feel a part of it, which I think is like professional, and I think is makes your clients feel comfortable and makes them feel valued and cared for. But also I could see how like if you're constantly pulling something up on your phone and all of your focus is on your phone and not on your client, I could see how that could be unprofessional and make your clients feel uncomfortable. So I think if you're inviting them in to like what your process is and, saying, hey, like, let's maybe come, like, let's see what we can find. Like, let's look on Pinterest really quick together, or, like maybe just try to invite them into that and let them be a part of it. So then you guys can kind of like create together and make it a fun experience. Number 3, someone asked, what's a good rebuttal if someone inquires but wants to back out due to cost? Okay, this is good. And just a preference, I am not a salesperson. I am not like, I don't have like a pitch. I don't have like a sales script. I don't like have those things. I've never been that way. Not that I'm saying that I can't be that way, because I'm always learning. I'm always growing. And I definitely like know that's probably an area of growth that I can be in. But I also know like how I've run my business and what's worked for me has worked really well, because I am at a point where most like 9 times out of 10 when I'm on a call with someone, like we're signing a contract, we're booking. And that has come with a lot of just like posting on social media, putting myself out there. And by the time they like get to the booking process, like they're ready, because I've already kind of given them enough to be convinced that they want to work with me. But I also know there are some people that sell scripts and like having these like, if someone says this is how you should go. Like I can see how in some people's business and how people work, like that can be so helpful. And like there have been times like thinking back of like, oh gosh, like it would have been so nice to know like what to say in a situation, because yeah, it is kind of awkward. Like if you are talking to someone and you're offering them something, and then they like want to work with you, but then they're like, the cost is too much. Like someone else can afford me for a better price, whatever. Like I can see how that can be awkward. And I'm still to this day, I'd be like, oh, I don't know. But I think if you kind of look at it as, I think there's various ways you can go about responding. And I think you have to kind of figure out what works for you, what you're trying to get out, or what you're trying to get out of the conversation, what you're trying to learn. And then it can kind of help lead you in the next step. So for me, I think if someone were to say like, hey, I really, really want to work with you, but like our budget just does not have the space for it. So maybe something I would ask and say, hey, I get it. Weddings are so expensive, we had to pay for our own wedding. Like, I understand. Like, let me just ask you, if, you didn't have the budget to worry about, like, would you still want to work with me? Like, is that truly the only reason you are choosing not to work with me? And then based on their answer, you can kind of get an idea of like, okay, do these people like genuinely value me and like want to work with me bad enough to where like it's just the money making it hard? Or you might be able to figure out like, oh, maybe they're just kind of seeing if I would like give them a deal, or maybe they're just trying to fish out for like other prospects, which is like totally fine. Like that's no wrong of people to do that. But that way it can kind of give you an idea of like, okay, if it's someone who truly, truly values you, that's where you can kind of be like, hey, I get it. Like I would absolutely love to work with you too. Like I think we're a great fit for each other. I think we would have like the best time. Like I would love to like work something out with you. Like would a payment plan work? Like could we split it up to where like you could pay over the year and it would help? Like anything I can do to make that help, like I would love to make that work. Then on the other hand, maybe if they don't really give you that response, maybe you're kind of like, okay, like maybe it's not a good fit. Like maybe this just isn't going to work out. Maybe it's okay. Like maybe we don't need to work together. So I would say like that as approach you could take. And then I would also say too, like I would think about the value that you're giving them, because like as a photographer and as a business owner, we're not just giving people like our service of taking photos. Like at the end of the day, like anybody can take a photo, right? Like genuinely, we all have iPhones. We all like most people do take pictures on their iPhones. But as a photographer, like what is making you stand out? The biggest thing you can give people is yourself. That is your greatest value. That is your greatest asset, is who you are and who you are authentically. So I think it's nice. Like you maybe could say, hey, I get it. I get photography is expensive. And like, trust me, like I sometimes get like why people are like, why is it so expensive for photos? But I want you to know when it comes to me taking your photos, like you're not just getting photos taken, like you're getting an experience, you're getting you're getting like me helping you doing this X, Y, and Z, whatever it is that you are bringing to the table. Tell them that, like, me, like, I'm going to help you timeline. I'm going to help you stay on track on your day. Like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to like make sure, like, I'm going to talk to all your friends and family. Like, I'm going to make it fun. I'm not going to make it feel like a burden for you taking photos. Like, we're going to become best friends, So I think like whatever you can provide as like value, like tell them that, because sometimes they just kind of are seeing this as, oh, like someone's taking my photos. Like they don't see all the other stuff that comes with it. So definitely add value to that. And hopefully that helps. Someone asked, what is a good go-to like everyday everything lens? So I personally love my Canon 28-70. That is the lens that I use like 90% of the time. The reason I love it is because it is so versatile. I genuinely could I do all my engagement sessions, couple sessions, because it is so versatile, because I can get wide shots, I can get close-ups, I can get like in between, type shots. It's just so amazing. And the aperture can get down to a 2, which is great. So it's helpful in like low light situations, like especially for weddings. So I would say like and it just depends too what you're in. I think different professions can get away with different types of lenses. Personally, I just think when we're working with people and like especially like couples, engagements, weddings, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things changing. You're kind of having to capture a lot of things happening really, really fast, and you really only have like one shot to get it. So that's why having a versatile lens to where you can get a wide shot, you can zoom in really close, really, really fast, and get a variety of images, when you're kind of crunched for time and crunched for whatever it is. So I definitely have found that like a zoom lens has just been so versatile. When I first got started, I had a 35 millimeter and an 85. And of course, like prime lenses are amazing. Like truly, they are beautiful and so like just incredible. Like, of course, they're the best. And I get why people like love them. But if you think about it, like if you only had prime lenses, you'd have probably like a 35 or like a 24. And then you might have like a 50 millimeter or an 85 millimeter or 135 millimeter, like whatever it is. But think about like genuinely, that would be like 4 camera bodies to be able, like on a wedding day, you'd have to be able to like switch back and forth like this. And I did do that. I would switch between my 35 and my 85. And it was great. Like the photos were great and worked, but I just found like switching constantly between the two was just getting really frustrating, and it was just like more time consuming to swap all the time. So that's why like the zoom lens has just been so nice, because I can get so much like I can get like 2 prime lenses essentially almost out of my 28-70, because I could do like a 35 millimeter at a 2.0, and then I could go to a 50 millimeter at a 2.0. Because the aperture does go that low. Obviously it doesn't drop below that, which the prime lenses typically do. But that's why I love that lens. I definitely think that is like a zoom lens is amazing. And just is so beneficial, especially being in this type of industry. So I'm going to kind of put these 2 questions together because they kind of go hand in hand. So someone asked, how do you come up with content? I'm struggling. And then someone asked, how do you continue making content when it feels exhausting? So content is, everywhere. We're all making content. And I've been on a journey. I'm still on a journey of like content creation and kind of just like figuring out what I like. But over the years, I have found that when it comes to content, you have to post content that feels authentic to you and that you enjoy and that you can be consistent with, right? There's so many types of content out there. Like there's people who are funny. There's people who can do, the funny, witty stuff. There's people out there who make really cool videos of like transitions and can make stuff look really cool. And then there's people out there who, can make really cool reels with like photos or videos, whatever. And I think it's hard because you're looking at like all this type and you feel like you have to be all these things. But I have found that the more I'm making content that feels true to me, that I actually enjoy, the more I actually want to show up and the more I want to do it. And I've actually found a love for it to where I love doing it now. It's like a passion I didn't even know I had. And I genuinely just love making content and love sharing everything with you guys. Like I would share my whole life with you guys if I could. But I don't know. I think you just have to find what you really enjoy doing. And so trial and error it, try some new things, and you'll know like when things start to feel right, because you'll know like you'll try to make something and you're just like, oh, that felt like such a burden. Like I did not enjoy that. Like you'll kind of know what you like and what you don't like and what is coming easy to you versus what is coming hard. Now I'm not going to lie. It's not easy to get into it. Like it is hard. It is hard to create like a schedule. It is hard to kind of, be motivated to do it all the time. I know as like a girl, it's sometimes you don't want to wear makeup or don't want to get ready. And so those are the days where it's hard because you're like, dang, like I don't look that great. I don't want to put my face out there. So, those are the things that kind of make it hard to where you might have to, like, I've been trying to just like make sure I like at least do something to my face and like fix my hair to where at least if I did want to make content, I'm looking half decent. But yeah, I just think find what you love, try to just stick with it. And like, I don't know, give yourself like, don't just like jump into things too. Like, I think some people are like, I have to go from 0 to 100. And like, that's really hard to maintain if you're not there yet. So just start with the small habits. Like I always say, like, how can I get 1% better every day? Right. So it's like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to post, I'm going to show up, I'm going to post. And then the next day you're like, okay, I'm going to post again. And then the next day you're like, oh, I'm going to post again. So like just do small habits and then like you'll be able to get into a routine and put it into your schedule. Because that's also important too, is I think we can get so lost in like editing, personal time, taking your dog on a walk or hanging out with my kids or whatever it is to where it's so hard. You just kind of forget about content. But if you start looking at it as important as like answering an email or editing photos, like make it a priority, make it on that list of like, these need to get done today. That also has been really helpful. Like, hey, like this is a part of my business that has to get done. And so we're going to do it. Someone asked how to establish boundaries with your clients. So like either messaging, emails, or other communication. When it comes to boundaries and like communication, like I think the biggest thing is you just have to be upfront and honest with your clients. They don't know what you want, if you don't tell them, right? So for me personally, I'm like, if it's business related and like a scheduling thing, it's got to be email because like I can't do it over Instagram DM. I can't do it over text message because I don't keep up with those things. Like I'm not, like usually within like 3 days, I'm like, okay, my email needs to be completely cleared. I've been trying to do it every day recently. But like my messages and my DMs, I'm like, I might go a few weeks and have like a ton of notifications of like unread messages just because it's just too much to try to get to everything. So like if someone reaches out via Instagram, it's like, I want to book with you. I'm like, okay, hey, great. Like, thanks. Can you fill out an inquiry form? And I will just copy and paste my website inquiry form and give that to them. Cause I was like, I can't keep up with like dates and stuff on an Instagram DM. Same with a text message. I'll be like, hey, like if I have a client reaching out, even if I've booked them and they're trying to reach out and ask questions, I'm like, hey, can you email me this? Like, just to make sure it's in an email. And so whatever works for you, you just have to be upfront, honest, and just keep directing people where you want them to. So someone asked, what gallery platform do you use and why? I haven't really talked about what gallery platform I use. So I have been using Pass, I don't even know. It was like the first ever platform I ever got because I was using Flickr to send my photos like back in the day. Also like that, it was so bad. Like I literally could only upload like 500 photos in an album and like it was just like a bunch of photos just like dropped in and like so unorganized. But then when I got Pass, I loved it and I still love it. Obviously I'm still using it. But it's so nice because you can upload your photos. You can create different categories. I'll do like, for a wedding, details. I'll do getting ready, ceremony, or portraits, or reception. And it's really cool because you can send a very organized gallery to your clients, which again is elevating their experience. It's giving them, just a better experience overall working with you because then they can kind of look through the day in an organized way and be able to go back and find photos when they need to. Also, Pass is really cool because it has a print shop attached. So basically, your clients can print through Pass through you essentially. So basically they can, when they get your link, to the photos, they can go through, they can add photos to the cart, they can make albums, they can get prints, they can really get any kind of print and they're great. Like I've personally seen like albums printed from Pass and they're beautiful because you definitely want high quality printing when you're having these types of photos. So what's cool too is like when you have your print shop set up, your clients will purchase and everything runs through Pass. Like you don't have to do anything, which is cool, but you get a cut, you get a profit off of it because they're your photos. So it's pretty cool. It's a great way to make passive income. So I definitely recommend using Pass for sure. Someone asked, what change did you make in your business that helped you explode? This is such a good question. And this is honestly why we made our course, the Art of Posing course, because it did start with like the way we posed and the way we started working with clients, because it then just infiltrated into our entire business and has helped us get to where we are today. But obviously that's a long-winded question. I'd be here literally for hours going over everything, but I think it comes down to a few things. Is one, we started putting more importance on a client experience rather than being like perfect and making sure, we had the perfect pose and the perfect thing. Like we just started focusing on people and, giving people a great experience working with us. And then when we started realizing like this is a people business and realizing people are all different and not everybody is the same, and there's not one size fits all kind of way to go through sessions and pose people. Everyone is different. Everybody's love is different. The way people interact is different, but there's so much beauty in that because you can capture people so genuinely regardless of how they interact with each other. And then thirdly is we stopped waiting on things to come to us. We stopped waiting on, like, instead of waiting for a destination wedding inquiry, we went out to a content day and got content as if we were shooting an international wedding, and then we were able to get weddings off of that. So yeah, you just have to like not wait for things to come to you and showcase what you want. So like I'm big on what you put out there is what you attract. So if you want like adventurous couples, you're going to have to put that out there. If you want high-end luxury, you're going to have to put that out there. And sometimes that takes going to content days. Wow, I cannot talk. Sometimes that takes, doing stuff for free and getting the content that you need. Sometimes that takes just like putting it together yourself and making it happen. So that would be like my biggest advice on how we got to where we are today. And if you want to go check it out, we do have the Art of Posing course. It is in the description box if you want to take a look at it. We go way more into depth on this process. Someone asked tips on lighting my office for YouTube. Keep hearing about a light behind, so confused. I'm probably not the best person to come to with like lighting. I am definitely like a natural light person, and I don't know. I think it's just your style and your vibe. Like if you look on YouTube, there's all kinds of like creators, and like even just all over Instagram, there's so many different types of creators, right? Like there's people who just are very like kind of show up day to day. I feel like I've been trying to do that more of just like, if it's not perfect, it's fine. Like I don't really care if it's perfect. But then you have some people who are really good at just like having dope lighting, and that's their vibe. It's like moody, it's aesthetic. So I don't know. I think the biggest thing is just figure out what you want to get, like what you want people to feel when they watch your videos. So like me, I want it to feel cozy. I want it to feel comfortable. I want it to feel homey. I just want it to feel authentic and genuine, which is why I don't put too much like effort. It's just kind of like every day, like, hey, this is literally what my house looks like right now. We'll throw on a lamp. Sometimes I do have a light on me, especially if it's like nighttime. We just have, it's in our Amazon. I can't remember the name, but it's in our Amazon storefront. That is actually in the description. I will pop on a light every once in a while when I need it. But use natural light to your advantage. Like, I just feel like natural light is always great, and it's my favorite. I prefer natural light. So yeah, I would say don't think too much into it. Just like make sure it's clear. Audio, make sure people can hear you, make sure people can see you. And I would just say, make sure it's clean behind you. Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You just don't want the focus to be on all these other things in the background. So those are my tips. We have a few more to go through. So someone asked, best way to reach your target audience: Instagram, Google, others. When it comes to this, again, I think it's definitely just like where you like to show up and what is working for you. You don't have to run your business like everybody else. Like, I can say that a million times, but you don't. So like, if you're really good at Google Analytics, like run Google, because people still Google stuff. Like people are still Googling like wedding photographers in Charleston or wedding photographers in Texas. I don't know. And so you might come up on Google, which is great. But like me, I love being on Instagram. I love being on TikTok, now showing up on YouTube. So with me, I think I definitely have more of a heavy presence for Instagram and TikTok, and that's where a lot of my people come from and clients. So like I said, you just got to put your efforts into where you can show up, where you can be consistent, where you can do really well at. Maybe that's blogging, maybe it's doing a lot of SEO work for your website. Like, where can you show up consistently with that? Like, could that be what you're doing? Could that work really well for you? I think it's just all about consistency and all about where you want to lead people. Pinterest is also great. I haven't personally done a lot of research on like Pinterest and like I've never really gotten a client from Pinterest. But it's also a great way. I know people can and have, so that's also a great one too. But again, it takes consistency. It's kind of a longevity, so like long-term goal of like, at first when you start posting on Pinterest, it's going to be really slow, but over time, I know it can work really well. So that is a great way. But again, just like where you like to show up, like show up. That's what I would say. Just like 2 more and we'll wrap this up. So someone asked, how do you choose between which preset pack to use for each session? Okay, this is like an ongoing battle that I'm constantly having, because one, as an artist, like there's always like, I'm always feeling inspired by, people, colors, vibes. Like, I just always feel like I'm getting inspired by just like what I see. So when it comes to editing, I think as photographers, we kind of have a natural, like, a consistent style, right? Like for me, I want overall my photos to feel true to tone. Like, I want to be able to look back and be like, okay, like that still feels like a good solid photo. It's still true to tone. We don't have any crazy colors going on. But I also have started really just implementing, like, how did the day feel? Like, if it was rainy and more moody out, how could I maybe implement colors to emulate that? Like, even if you watch TV, like for instance, we were watching a show last night and the vibe is kind of moody, it's mysterious, and so they use a lot of cooler tones, right? It's a lot of cool tones, cool shadows, versus when you watch like Outer Banks. I don't know if you've seen Outer Banks, but like it's on Netflix, but it's set in the summer. It wants you to give warm, hot, midsummer, sweaty, and so they have a lot of warm tones, warm shadows, warm highlights in their color grading. So, which really, it makes you feel like when you're watching it, you're like, dang, they're sweating, even though they could be filming in the middle of January. Like, you would never know. So I think it's just all about how you want it to feel. And so I've just been really trying to work on like whatever the vibe was, like I want it to feel that way. So if it was a moodier, rainier day, it's probably going to feel, I'm going to edit maybe towards that. And so I think that has been really helpful with me, like picking and choosing like my direction. Again, overall, like I want my skin tones to look normal. I want them to look true to tone. I don't want any crazy skin tones. So that's always going to be kind of like my focus, but I may change up with like adding some, hints of blue or aqua to the shadows, or hints of orange and yellow to the shadows to bring some warmth or coolness, depending on like how I want the image to feel. And then also with greens, down here in Charleston, we have a ton of greens, and sometimes like maybe if I want it to feel more, if it was in the fall, like maybe I want them to be a little bit more yellow and warm, or if it's like in the midsummer, I want them to really pop and be green and vibrant. So that's kind of how I go about it. Presets are cool though, because like it's really cool to just see how like much an edit can bring a photo to life. So my biggest advice is definitely just play around with it. Like, don't just stick to one all the time. Like, allow yourself to explore, allow yourself to like even mess around with like the sliders in Lightroom, because there's so much in there. I mean, it's overwhelming. You could literally sit there all day and like work on an edit, but definitely like don't be afraid to venture and just like play around with colors and just see like what it makes you feel. Last one. So how do you raise prices and keep clients and continue to grow your business? Okay, this is a great question. Again, kind of like a long-winded answer to that, because it is such a big question of like growing your business. But when it comes to raising prices and keeping clients, again, I think the biggest thing is the experience you're giving. Like, we as human beings, we love experiences, and that is what draws us back. That's what attracts us to things. So like, even think about like, is there a vacation, like for us, like me and my family, we go to the beach every year. We've been going to the same beach, pretty much the same place every single year, because it's an experience that we're getting. It's like, it's a certain experience that we are getting and that we crave. And every time we go back, like it fulfills something in us, right? So a lot of people do this too. Like, they might go skiing in Colorado, or They might go to the Caribbean every winter. Like, it's just an experience that they have done together that is drawing them back. And so if you think about that on a small level of how can I give my clients an experience that makes them want to come back to me? You know, is it the way you made them feel? Is it how effortless and easy it was for you to take photos? Was it how funny you were and made them laugh during the session? Like, whatever it is, that is going to help keep your clients. And not only will it help you keep your clients, but good businesses run off of referrals, right? People will promote good businesses. So like, think about like even like small things. You're like, oh, like for instance, like my nail lady, she's fantastic. I love her. And so like if anybody ever asks me like I need nails, I'm like, you got to go to her. Like she's great. You know, and so people do the same thing with you. Like if someone asks like, oh my God, like these photos are amazing. And they're like, oh my God, like the photographer was so good. Like you have to use her for, or use him for your sessions, like whatever it is. I definitely think just like really focusing on the client experience, because that is going to take you so far. Like this is such a people business. We are in a people business. And so if you can learn how can you give yourself, how can you serve people well, how can you provide a valuable experience to people above like anything else. Like don't even think about the money aspect, but think about what you can give in service, what you can give in value, because as soon as you do that, it is just going to come right back to you. Like the more you give, the more you're going to receive. I was reading something the other day that like, if you think about it in the world, so plants, they take in carbon dioxide, they release oxygen, right? We as human beings, we take in the oxygen, we release the carbon dioxide, and it's a cycle, and we're all in this giving and receiving of each other, right? It's the same thing when it comes to people and business. The more you give, it's got to come back to you. Like it just will come back to you, whether it's in a few years, whether it's in a few days, like it always comes back, and you will just be so surprised to see it come back to your business. So focus on what you can give. How can you give of yourself? How can you give of to people that you're working with? Because it's just going to come right back to you, and your business is going to flourish so much. So I'm going to end on that. Thank you guys for being here. Let me know, drop a comment below if you have more questions, because like I said, I will do more of these. So please drop them in there so I'll kind of write them down as they come in. Make sure to subscribe and like, just so you don't miss out on another video. And I just love that you guys are here, and I can't wait to keep growing and being on this journey with you guys. Love y'all.